And we are back. It's good to have you all here for another session of building and analyzing some questionable life choices. You know the drill by now. Chill Minecraft in the background, not so chill human drama up front. All right, it's time for our first whisper. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's childhood best friend she's too involved with my kid? A bit over a year and a half ago, me and my husband gave birth to our son. It was our first kid, and we were incredibly nervous and scared we were going to screw things up. The first week with him back were horrid. He cried all the time, and it was ridiculously exhausting. But I'd be lying if I said we didn't know what we were getting into. At the start, my husband's best friend was amazing. She would come around all the time, bring us food, spend time with our son, babysitting so we could have some time away, and really appreciated the help, and she seemed to genuinely love my son. When my maternity leave was finished and I went back to work, she offered even more of her time to help with babysitting instead of me hiring someone. I said that I couldn't make her do that, and she surely had other things due. And she said it was fine. She works from home on her online businesses anyway, and she even refused pay. And honestly, I didn't mind any of the help until now. I recently noticed on our doorbell that she had been coming in at night while I was doing occasional night shifts. I thought it was strange, but free help, so I never confronted it, as weird as I felt it was.
But yesterday, when I came home from a shift and found my son playing with her and found that he kept referring to her as Mama, I think something kind of broke inside of me, and I told her to get out. She protested and asked what's wrong, and I just asked her to leave and to not come here again. And she accused me of being jealous and that I was scared I was being replaced. She pointed out that if I was a more involved parent, my husband and son wouldn't need a second wife. And I screamed at her, told her if she knows what's good for her, she should get out. She finally did. My husband came home a bit after, and I told him about, and he just shrugged and didn't say anything. But my MIL called and had a go at me, basically repeating her talking points and saying that I needed to apologize. And honestly, I'm at a lost cause at this point. I feel really bad and felt like went too far. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My mail just called my husband to set me straight and to allow my husband's bestie to be allowed in the house to see her grandson, and that I need to get used to the fact that my son sees someone else as a mom. At this point, she practically is a second wife, especially considering I'm working. And honestly, F her. And F all of you in the comments who think I'm a shit mother for bloody working. All right, so this whisper starts out looking like a wholesome story about a helpful friend, and then just completely takes a nosedive into nightmare territory. This isn't a simple misunderstanding. This is about a massive, calculated betrayal. Okay, let's be real. The red flags were there from the jump. The friend coming over late at night while the narrator's not home? That's not helping, that's just sketchy. That little gut feeling telling you something is off, you gotta listen to that. It's almost never wrong. And then we hit the moment that breaks the whole thing. Her kid calls the friend Mama. For any parent, that is a gut punch. That's the confirmation of your absolute worst fear. So her snapping and telling the friend to get out, not an overreaction. Not even in the same league. That's a primal protective instinct kicking in, plain and simple. But the friend's response, that showed her true colors for real. You're jealous, second wife, those aren't things a friend says. Those are weapons designed to hit where it hurts. And the husband, the shrug, the silence, that might be the biggest betrayal in this entire mess. He completely failed the have your partner's back test. And just when you think it can't get any worse, the mother-in-law gets involved. The final edit where she's just furious? Yeah, I get that. They cornered her and are now acting shocked that she's fighting back. And for the record, working to provide for your family doesn't make you a bad parent. It makes you a provider, period. So, AITA? This is one of the clearest NTAs I've ever seen. Not the one in the wrong. Her home was infiltrated, her role as a mother was undermined, and her entire support system bailed on her. Kicking that friend out wasn't just justified,
It was an act of self-preservation.
This whisper is a solid reminder that so-called help that crosses boundaries isn't help at all. It's a power play. And a message to all the partners out there. Your number one job is to be a shield for your person. If you're not doing that, what are you even doing? That's the real talk.
Man, this situation is just brutal. Before we move on to the next whisper, let me know. If you were in the narrator's shoes, what would your first move have been after coming home to that? Would you have handled it differently? Let's talk about it in comments.
All right, let's talk about the game for a sec. The last time I seriously played Minecraft was back in my first year of college, and honestly, I've missed it a ton. I don't know if there's any game as free as this one, but I'm a huge sucker for any crafting and building game. Just losing track of time, gathering resources, and building a world from scratch. That's my jam. Which, now that I mention it, I should probably add a death counter to the screen because the amount I've been dying is not normal. I swear I wasn't this bad back in the day, but now, yeah. I hope my constant dying isn't too distracting for you folks. Also, a quick question about the videos themselves. What do you think about the editing style? Are the jump cuts working for you, or would you prefer something a bit more natural? I'm just trying to cut out the boring parts, hours of just mining, but I'd love to get your feedback on this. As for the future of our world, I'm not 100% sure on the details yet, but I know I want to build something massive and aesthetic. Maybe we can combine a few different styles. A huge village from Middle-earth, a sprawling, futuristic cyberpunk city. To help with these, as you've probably noticed, I've added some building mods. I'm not giving you the full mod list yet because I'm constantly tweaking it, but I'll share it in the description once it's finalized. In a future episode, we'll also get into some of the tech and automation mods I've added. I put these in mainly to avoid the boring grind for resources and just to have more fun with it. Hope you guys are cool with me playing modded. Anyway, those are the plans for now. Let's get back to the whispers. All right, so for this next whisper, we're doing something a little different. We've got a text exchange, and it is awkward. So I'm going to read this out for you guys. The context is a 21-year-old woman who works part-time at a deli posts a picture of herself in a bikini on her personal, public Instagram. And then she gets a text from her boss, who's like a 50 or 60-year-old dude. Let's get into it. AIO boss contacted me, 21F, regarding bikini pictures I posted online. Boss, hi. I see you're scheduled for 4 p.m. shift. We need to talk once you get here. Hello. Yes, I will be in at 4 p.m. Is something wrong? No, but your picture's online. I don't want my employees putting their bodies online. This looks bad for the business. I didn't know you followed me on Instagram. In any case, my social media has no connection to business. The only thing attached to it is my name. Yes, but I don't like this. We will talk at 4 p.m. All right. Yes. Okay, I will see you then. I, 21F, currently work 2 jobs, one of which is a part-time gig at a little deli near my college. I've worked here for a while, and I thought I had a good relationship with my employers. I recently went to the beach and posted some tasteful, in my opinion, pictures of myself that my little sister took where I happened to be wearing a bikini. The next day, my boss, 50s, 60s, male, messaged me this. I didn't know he even had Instagram. My profile is public, meaning he didn't have to follow me to see the pictures, but I still don't love the idea that he was checking up on my profile like that. My first name is part of my Instagram handle, but not my last, and I don't even have my university in my bio or anything. There is zero connection to the deli at all, so even if the pictures were inappropriate, which I still think they were not, it shouldn't matter. I feel like this is weird, but I told some of my friends about it, 19F, 21F, and they're saying that it's not a big deal.
So yeah, that's the text exchange. And honestly, my first question isn't even about the bikini pic. My first question is, why is a 50 or 60-year-old boss actively seeking out and following his 21-year-old female employee on Instagram? That, right there, is the starting point for this whole weird situation. It immediately creates a strange power dynamic that feels less like employer-employee and more like surveillance. Then he hits her with the "this looks bad for the business" line. Let's break that down. How? How does it look bad for the business? Her Instagram handle isn't deli name girl. Her bio doesn't say I make sandwiches for a living. It's her personal page, completely disconnected from her job. This isn't about protecting the business's image. This is about him projecting his own weird, outdated hangups onto her. Her friend saying it's not a big deal is what gets me, though. I think they're missing the point. The picture itself is not the big deal. The big deal is the massive overstep of boundaries from someone in a position of power. It's the unsolicited monitoring of her private life. It's the implication that her body, even on her own time, somehow belongs to her employer's brand. That's a huge deal.
And the way he handles it is such a power play. Instead of just being a normal human and maybe asking about it privately if he was genuinely concerned, which he wasn't, he sends this formal, almost threatening text, "We need to talk." It's designed to make her feel anxious and put her on the defensive before she even walks in the door. That's not how a good boss manages people. That's how someone who enjoys control asserts their dominance.
So yeah, my final verdict, this is beyond inappropriate. It's creepy, it's controlling, and it's a massive abuse of his position as her boss. She did absolutely nothing wrong. The only person who should be worried about looking bad for the business is the boss himself for acting like this. So, to put a final pin in this one, this situation has zero to do with a bikini picture and everything to do with power and control. A job is a transaction. You trade your time and skills for money. It is not a contract to give up ownership of your life, your body, or your personal time. Any boss who makes you feel otherwise isn't a boss, they're a bully. And that's a whisper about workplace boundaries that everyone, employee or employer, needs to hear loud and clear.
Our third story. Looking for advice on how to say hard truths to my adult son, 21M. I'm 48F. My adult son, 21M, recently let us know that he wasn't going back to college in the fall because it's not the right path for him. He had been agonizing over telling us and had thought about more permanent and tragic ways to not have to tell us. He finally got up the courage and tremblingly spoke to us, and then broke down in heavy tears when we told him it was okay, that college isn't the only way, and it will all figure it out together as long as he was safe. We used our connections and was able to get him a position at a local company nearby, making a surprisingly generous hourly wage for a first job. Our AC has worked there for less than 2 weeks, spent some time with some peers after work the other day, and then messaged desk saying he was calling in sick the next day, and would it be okay if he just quit that job and went to therapy instead? I told him that therapy is absolutely 100% always a go, but that we would need to discuss quitting. I've been trying to figure out what to say because I'm feeling like this is how 50-year-old adults who never left their parents' house start, but I know that's an unkind thing to say. I want to let him know that him getting this position was a unicorn, because most people out there are having trouble finding jobs as it is. Let it go, let alone the cushy, high-paying one we were able to get him. We will not be able to perform such a magic feat again. He'd have to figure it out on his own. For reference, he is very high-functioning autistic and is able to care for himself in all ways. Is it okay if I tell him that we handed him a college education, then we handed him a career, but we can't endlessly hand him things so easily? I don't want to handicap him. TLDR, adult son quit college, was handed a job, wants to quit the job, and now I'm looking advice on how to give him gentle but also tough love. All right, so this whisper is about that really tough intersection between wanting to support someone's mental health and the fear of accidentally enabling them to never leave the nest. This is a tricky one. First off, we gotta give props to the son for his initial confession. The fact that he was considering permanent and tragic ways to avoid telling his parents he wanted to drop out of college, that tells you everything. This isn't a kid being lazy or entitled. This is someone who is absolutely drowning in pressure and anxiety. And the parents' first reaction, telling him it was okay, that was a perfect A-plus parenting moment. But then they pull off this miracle and get him a unicorn job, a high-paying first job with no degree. And speaking from experience, let me tell you, finding any job right now, let alone a good one, can be an absolutely soul-crushing and exhausting process. As an engineer myself, I know how brutal that job market can be. So for them to hand him this golden ticket, and for him to want to quit after 2 weeks, yeah, I completely understand the mom's panic. But here is the absolute key to this whole situation. He doesn't want to quit to go sit on the couch and do nothing. He wants to quit to go to therapy. This isn't him giving up on life. This is him realizing he doesn't have the right tools to even start living it. He's recognizing that throwing him into a job right now is like throwing someone who can't swim into the deep end of the pool. He's asking for swimming lessons first. So, can the mom give him that tough love? Absolutely. But the way she's thinking of phrasing it, "we handed you everything," sounds like an accusation, and it'll just make him shut down again. The conversation needs to be about we, not you. It's not you are failing, it's we have a problem, so how do we solve it? Here's the move, in my opinion. Support the therapy 100%, but frame it as his new job. She can say, okay, for the next 2 months, your full-time job is therapy. You go to your appointments, you do the work, and you help out around the house. At the end of 2 months, we reassess and make a plan for you to re-enter the workforce, maybe part-time. This validates his need for help without removing responsibility entirely. It's a middle ground. This whisper is about redefining what success and responsibility mean when mental health is on the line. Sometimes the most responsible thing a person can do is to stop, admit they are not okay, and ask for help. And sometimes the best handout a parent can give isn't a job or an education, but the space and support to heal.
Okay, let's dig into our next story.
My ex, 30M, cheated while I, 31F, sacrificed my career to help him graduate. He'll probably read this too. I, 31F, just went through one of the most painful experiences of my life with my ex, 30M. We were together for 4 years, and I spent 9 months living in his city. We've been broken up for almost 2 years now. For 3 of those 9 months, I became his testing patient so he could graduate as a dental hygienist. I completely put my own work and income on hold during that time, sacrificing about $18K USD. Without me, he probably wouldn't have graduated. He had no one else to be his testing patient. I even missed out on a trip with my friends to be his testing patient. 2 weeks ago, he reached out saying he wanted to reconnect. He flew to my country to see me and finally admitted he had cheated on me twice during our relationship. Once emotionally, sexting/nudes, and once physically with the same girl. I was blindsided and shocked. After confessing, he told me he wanted forgiveness and a future with me. He said all the right things, how he'd changed for the better, wanted a life partner, and wanted to fix things with me. I told him I'd only consider it if he moved to my city short-term and we went to therapy together. He said he was seriously considering it. But when he went back home and talked to his friends, he completely changed his mind, saying his feelings were just guilt and familiarity. This after telling me he'd spent 2 years thinking about reaching out and that he was sure about wanting a life with me.
I asked him for financial accountability for the $18K I sacrificed to support him while he was cheating. He refused, saying it wouldn't help me and that it would just decrease his bank account. I spoke to his mom, and even his mom said it makes sense for him to take financial accountability. But my ex still refuses to do the right thing. And if you're reading this, you know exactly who you are. This is the mess you created and the person you chose to be. Would you consider financial compensation fair in this situation? How do I let go when he's walking away with 0 consequences?
How do I let go when he's walking away with 0 consequences? Edit. Also, to all those people who think this is fake, you don't have to believe it. I didn't provide additional details as it would make this story drag on and on. My aim was to provide enough context so you understood the situation. All right, so this next whisper is a masterclass in selfishness and a painful lesson in sacrifice. This is one of those stories that just makes you shake your head because the audacity is just off the charts.
Let's be very clear about what she did for him. She didn't just help him out. She put her career on hold, became his literal test patient, and lost out on $18,000 so he could get his degree. That's not just support. That's a massive, quantifiable investment in his future.
And how did he repay this incredible act of partnership? He cheated on her. Not after, not before, but during the time she was making these sacrifices for him. The disrespect in that timing is just staggering. It fundamentally changes the entire contract of their relationship at that time. Then, years later, he comes back, sells her this whole story about regret and wanting a future, gets her hopes up, and then just bails again with the weakest excuse ever: guilt and familiarity. That's not an apology to her. That's him being selfish again. He wanted to ease his own guilt, and he used her emotions to do it without any intention of actually following through. So, she asks for financial accountability. Is it fair? Absolutely. This isn't about buying forgiveness. This is about acknowledging a debt. His excuse that it wouldn't help her and would just decrease his bank account is maybe the most selfish sentence in this whole post. Man, it's not about helping you feel better. It's about him taking responsibility for the tangible value she provided while he was betraying her. Even his own mom gets it. How does she let go? That's the hardest part. Letting go here means accepting the hard truth that he is not the person she thought he was, and he will likely never do the right thing. Her power move at the end, addressing him directly, "This is the mess you created," that's her taking her power back. He might walk away with 0 financial consequences, but he has to live with the character he's chosen to be. And that's a whisper about knowing your own worth and understanding that sometimes the only closure you get is the door you close yourself. All right, so this final whisper, this is a masterclass in selfishness and a painful lesson in sacrifice. This is one of those stories that just makes you shake your head because the audacity is just off the charts. Let's be very clear about what she did for him. She didn't just help him out. She put her career on hold, became his literal test patient, and lost out on $18,000 so he could get his degree. That's not just support. That's a massive, quantifiable investment in his future. And how did he repay this incredible act of partnership? He cheated on her. Not after, not before, but during the time she was making these sacrifices for him. The disrespect in that timing is just staggering. It fundamentally changes the entire contract of their relationship at that time.
Then, years later, he comes back, sells her this whole story about regret and wanting a future, gets her hopes up, and then just bails again with the weakest excuse ever: guilt and familiarity. That's not an apology tour. That's him being selfish again. He wanted to ease his own guilt, and he used her emotions to do it, without any intention of actually following through. So she asks for financial accountability. Is it fair? Absolutely. This isn't about buying forgiveness. This is about acknowledging a debt. His excuse that it wouldn't help her and would just decrease his bank account is maybe the most selfish sentence in this whole post. Man, it's not about helping you feel better. It's about him taking responsibility for the tangible value she provided while he was betraying her. Even his own mom gets it. And that brings us to the bigger picture, this idea of sacrifice in relationships. It's a beautiful thing when it's mutual, when two people are a team, covering each other's weaknesses, lifting each other up. That's what a real partnership is. You sacrifice a little bit of your time so they can chase a dream. They sacrifice a little bit of their comfort so you can feel secure. It's a dance. It requires balance. But what happens when that dance becomes a one-way street? What happens when one person is constantly giving and the other is constantly taking? That's not a partnership anymore. That's a parasite-host relationship. And what's worse is when the person giving is doing it out of love, and the person taking is also taking from someone else, somewhere else. The betrayal isn't just the act of cheating. The betrayal is devaluing the sacrifice. It's taking that gift of support and trust and treating it like it's worthless. And letting go? That's the hardest part. The narrator here asks, how do I let go when he's walking away with zero consequences? The hard truth is, he's not walking away with zero consequences. He might keep his money, sure, but he's walking away with the full knowledge of who he is. He has to live with the fact that he used someone who loved him, betrayed them, and then refused to do the right thing when confronted. That's a heavy weight. Her power move at the end, addressing him directly, "This is the mess you created," that's her taking her power back. That's her defining her own closure. Sometimes the only closure you get is the door you close yourself.
And on that note, we're wrapping up our second collection of whispers. From a family struggling with responsibility, and finally to this, a story about the true cost of betrayal. It's been a journey.
I really want to hear what you all think about this last story in particular. Is financial accountability a fair thing to ask for in a situation like this? Or is it better to just walk away and find peace? And what about the other stories we covered today? Let me know your takes on everything down in the comments. I'm going to be reading through them all. A like on the video and a subscribe to the channel would mean the world. We're building something cool here, and I'm glad you're a part of it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Stay safe, be good to each other, and keep listening for those whispers.